The world of Vorthal Prime was silent after the war. The air smelled of burnt metal and smoke. Great mountains of wrecked ships and dragon bones covered the horizon. Among them lay the last and most feared being of all, Sarathra, the Dragon Queen. Her massive body lay broken in the ruins of a fallen city. Her armor, once shining with gold and fire, was now cracked and dull. Deep wounds marked her scales. Even the ground around her still carried the heat of her flames. For centuries, no one had dared to stand against her, but war changes everything. For the first time in her long life, the Dragon Queen was silent. Days passed. The stars above Vorthal Prime faded behind the thick dust clouds. From far away, scavenger drones came searching for treasures in the ruins. They flew past her, unaware that the Great Queen still breathed. Inside her chest, a weak spark of life still flickered. She dreamed of the past, of her empire, of the skies that once trembled when her wings opened. She remembered the humans, the small, clever creatures who once fought her kind with machines instead of magic. They were gone now, extinct. At least that was what everyone believed, but fate had other plans. In the deep of the night, a light appeared among the wrecks. It was small, moving carefully like a ghost among the ruins. The figure carried a scanner and a repair kit. His clothes were old, covered in dust and oil. His name was Elias Varon, a lone human mechanic, maybe the last of his kind. He wasn't looking for treasure. He was searching for something that still worked, a power cell, a core, a sign of life. What he found instead stopped his heart. Before him lay a creature so enormous he could not see the end of her wings. Her armor was ancient and covered with strange marks. His scanner beeped wildly. Unknown material, unknown energy. He whispered, "No way." A dragon? At first he thought she was dead, but then he saw it, a small rise and fall in her chest, a heartbeat. She was alive. Elias could have turned and run. Every story from the old archives said dragons hated humans. They had burned worlds and hunted the last Terran ships to ashes. But as he looked at the Queen's broken body, he didn't see a monster. He saw something dying, something he could fix. He placed his hand on one of the broken armor plates. It was cold, too cold. Her scales had lost their fire. "You're not supposed to end like this," he muttered. He began to work. Hour after hour, he used his tools to connect wires, repair circuits, and refill the armor's ancient energy channels with Terran tech. Sparks flew. Machines hummed. Somewhere deep inside, the Queen's body responded, like a heartbeat returning from a dream. He didn't know what drove him, pity, curiosity, or madness. Maybe all three. When dawn came, he stepped back and looked at his work. The armor shone again, not gold like before, but with a faint blue glow. The mechanical parts hummed quietly, perfectly balanced with the organic scales beneath. He sighed in relief. "There, you're alive again." Then the ground shook. A low, rumbling growl came from the Queen's chest. The air turned hot, and the dust began to swirl around her. Elias stepped back, shielding his eyes as a golden light burst from her scales. The Dragon Queen's eyes snapped open, twin suns burning with fury. "Who dared touch my scales?" she thundered. Her voice echoed across the canyon, shaking the wrecked ships and shattering glass. Elias froze. The ground beneath him cracked. Her massive head turned, nostrils flaring as smoke curled from her mouth. Her pupils locked onto the tiny figure standing before her. A human. Trembling but still holding his ground, she stared for a long moment, unable to believe what she saw. A human here alive. It was like seeing a ghost from another age. "You should not exist," she growled. "Your kind was erased from the stars long ago." Elias took a slow breath, his heart pounding. "Yeah, I heard that too," he said. "Guess the reports were wrong." Her claws scraped the ground, molten sparks flying. "You dare answer me so calmly, little creature?" He looked up at her enormous form, his voice steady but soft. "You were dying." "I fixed what I could," the Queen blinked. The fire in her throat flickered, uncertain. "You fixed me?" Elias nodded. "Your armor. It was broken. I repaired it." For a moment the world seemed to stop. The wind went still. The Queen lowered her head until her massive golden eyes were level with his. He could see his reflection in them, small, fragile, and utterly insignificant. Her voice came out quieter now, like a storm turning into rain. No one has ever dared to touch me and lived. Why would you risk your life, human? He hesitated, then answered, because I couldn't walk away. It's what I do. I fix broken things. Something inside the queen stirred. Not rage, not pride, but something older. For centuries she had known only battle and blood. No one had ever helped her without wanting power or treasure. Yet this fragile being had done so, expecting nothing. You are foolish, she said. Maybe, Elias replied, smiling faintly. But you're breathing again. The queen's eyes glowed brighter. You know I could burn you to ash with a breath. I know, he said. But you won't. Why not? Because you owe me one. For a moment the queen just stared at him. Then, unexpectedly, a deep rumble came from her chest. It wasn't anger. It was laughter. The sound rolled through the canyon like thunder-breaking clouds. No human has spoken to me like that in 1,000 years, she said. Guess I'm old-fashioned, Elias said. The laughter faded. The queen looked toward the horizon. Far away, dark shapes moved, scavenger war drones drawn by her awakening energy. Her tail lashed once, sparks flying. They come for me. Elias checked his scanner. Yeah, he said quietly. A whole swarm. She turned her gaze back to him. Do you fear death, human? Every day, he replied, picking up his tool belt. But I still fix what's broken. The queen spread her massive wings, the light of her armor reflecting in the storm clouds. Then stay close, she said. You repaired a dragon. Now you will see what it means to fight beside one. Fire burst from her mouth as she rose into the burning sky, reborn, repaired, and furious. Elias stood beneath her shadow, heart racing. He didn't know it yet, but what he had done would change the fate of every world that still whispered the name human. Because that night, on the ruins of Vorthal Prime, a mechanic didn't just fix a dragon. He woke a queen. The night sky above Vorthal Prime was no longer silent. The ground trembled as metal wings cut through the smoke-filled air. Hundreds of scavenger war drones, built by alien syndicates, moved toward the canyon. They came to harvest the fallen queen, unaware that she no longer slept. From the shadows, Elias Varon watched the radar on his wrist light up red. 30? No, 40 drones, he muttered. All armed. He looked up at the dragon queen beside him. Her armor now glowed faint blue under the dark sky, a mixture of ancient dragon design and Terran repair work. It was holding well. For now, Sarathra raised her head, the light of her eyes burning brighter than the fires behind her. They come to feed on my bones, she said coldly. Let them try. Her voice was calm, but her body still carried wounds from the Great War. She could not fly far, not yet. Her left wing trembled when she moved. Elias saw it, the small sign of weakness she was trying to hide. He stepped closer. You're still healing. You can't take all of them. The queen turned her head toward him, scales gleaming in the firelight. And what would you suggest, little human? That I run? Elias met her eyes without fear. No, I'll help you fight. The first strike. The first drones appeared over the ridge, black, sharp insect-like machines. Their red scanners flashed as they locked onto the queen's position. A voice crackled through the air from their speakers. Target confirmed. Dragon life form detected. Prepare for disassembly. The queen's eyes narrowed. Her claws dug into the dirt. Disassembly, she hissed. They dare? Before the words left her mouth, she opened her wings and unleashed a blast of fire that tore through the night. The front line of drones melted instantly, raining molten metal from the sky. The shock wave threw Elias off his feet, but he rolled behind a broken ship hull for cover. More drones swarmed from above, firing plasma bolts. The sky turned white with energy blasts. Sarathra roared and shielded herself with her wings, but a few shots struck her chest plate. Elias could see the damage. The repaired sections flickered. Damn it, he shouted. Hold still, I need to reroute the shield flow. He ran through the smoke, dodging falling debris, and reached her side. Sparks exploded around him as he pulled a tool from his belt and connected it to a glowing circuit under her scales. Don't move, he yelled. I am under attack, human. She roared back. Yeah, well, so am I, he said, twisting a cable. Just give me 10 seconds. Her fire covered him as he worked. The drones circled closer, forming a tight attack ring. The queen's roar filled the valley again, shaking the earth. Elias tightened one final screw and slammed the panel shut. "Done," he yelled. The queen looked down. "You risked your life for my armor again." He smirked. "Can't have my best work getting scratched already." The turning point, a massive explosion erupted from the east ridge. A drone carrier, 10 times larger than the others, rose into the air, mechanical tentacles spreading wide. Elias's eyes widened. That thing's got anti-dragon cannons. The queen stared at the monstrous machine. They have learned well from the war. Her wings spread wide, light burning across the armor Elias had repaired. The mixture of dragon magic and human tech flared together, a strange harmony of fire and electricity. Elias climbed into the cockpit of a fallen vehicle, trying to get its defense turret online. The screen blinked to life. He shouted, "I'll handle the small ones, you take the big guy." Sarathra's tail smashed through the ground as she leapt into the air. The canyon shook with her takeoff. Flames streaked behind her as she rose to meet the carrier drone. The enemy fired its cannons, 3 blinding plasma blasts that ripped the sky apart. Sarathra rolled through them, the repaired armor deflecting most of the heat. Though one hit tore through her right wing, she roared in pain but didn't fall. Below, Elias fired the turret, hitting several smaller drones that tried to reach her. "Come on, you pieces of scrap." The air filled with the sound of battle, fire and metal, magic and machine. The human and the queen through the chaos. Something unexpected began to happen. The queen noticed how the human fought, not like a warrior but like an engineer. He didn't waste shots. Every move was calculated, controlled. He didn't try to win glory. He just wanted to survive, and to keep her alive too. She found herself glancing down at him between attacks, this tiny creature standing in the middle of destruction. Shouting commands to a dragon, "Left flank," he yelled. She followed without thinking, turning her head and unleashing a wave of fire exactly where he pointed. 5 drones vanished in the blast. He looked up and grinned. "Nice shot." For the first time she smiled. A dangerous, powerful smile, perhaps. This human was not like the others. The final blow. The carrier drone charged its main cannon. The energy beam glowed white-hot, brighter than the sun. If it fired, it would destroy the whole canyon. Elias saw it charging. "Sarathra, move!" But the queen didn't. She gathered her fire into her chest, a burning orb forming between her claws. "I will not move," she said. "I am the last of my kind." Elias's heart pounded. He realized what she was doing. "You'll burn yourself out." She looked down at him. "Then I will burn beautifully." He couldn't let that happen. He grabbed his communicator, linked to her armor's core, and rerouted all the stored Terran energy into her power circuit. The armor glowed brighter, gold mixing with blue light. "Now you've got backup," he said quietly. The queen's eyes widened, fire reflecting in them. "Human, what did you do?" "Just fix the limiters," Elias said. "You're welcome." She didn't answer. Instead, she unleashed her fire. The sky exploded. A beam of golden white flame struck the carrier drone, cutting through its armor and core. For a few seconds, everything went silent. Then the carrier detonated in a blinding storm of light. When the fire faded, the drones were gone. The queen hovered weakly in the air, her wings trembling. Aftermath Elias ran forward as she landed heavily, shaking the ground. Smoke rose from her armor and her eyes dimmed. "Hey, stay with me," he said, touching the side of her claw. "You're okay." Her voice was weak but proud. "You fought well, human." "No fear," he smiled. "That's the secret of being human. We fix things even when we're afraid." The queen lowered her head, her massive eye looking directly into his. "Perhaps your kind was not a mistake," he laughed softly. "Took you long enough to see that." The night wind blew gently through the canyon. For the first time since the Great War, a dragon and a human stood together, not as enemies, but as survivors. But far above them, among the stars, a signal was sent, a message from the destroyed carrier drone. Someone somewhere now knew that the Dragon Queen lived, and that a human stood beside her. The galaxy would not stay quiet for long. The fires of battle had faded. Only silence remained across the shattered valley of Vorthal Prime. The air smelled of ash and melted metal. The Dragon Queen Sarathra rested among the ruins, her scales dimmed, her breath slow but steady. Beside her, Elias Varon, the lone human mechanic, sat on a broken steel plate staring at the sky. The stars flickered through the smoke like distant eyes. He had patched the armor again, sealed the burns, and rerouted the energy cores. Now both of them waited, though neither knew for what. The message in the sky, a faint beep, broke the quiet. Elias looked at his wrist communicator. A signal, weak but constant, blinked on the screen. He frowned. That shouldn't exist. There's no Terran satellite left out here. Sarathra's eyes opened slowly. What troubles you, human? Elias hesitated. I'm picking up an old frequency. Human code. It's coming from orbit. The Queen tilted her massive head. Impossible. Your kind burned their last ships a century ago. Yeah, he said softly. That's what I thought too. For a moment, neither spoke. The wind whispered through the wrecks, and somewhere in the distance, a single piece of metal clanged against stone. Then the signal changed, turning into a voice. Crackling, old, distorted. If any Terran unit still survives. This is the Erebus station. We are not alone. The dragons have returned. The message cut off. Elias stared at the static, his pulse racing. The Erebus station, he whispered. That was one of ours. A deep space outpost, lost decades ago. Sarathra's gaze hardened. Returned? There are no more of my kind. He looked up at her. Then someone wants you to believe there are. A memory of fire as they prepared to move. The Queen lowered her head beside him. Tell me, human, she said quietly. Why does your kind still reach for ghosts? Elias thought for a moment before answering. Because sometimes ghosts are all we have left. Her golden eyes softened for a second, then turned away toward the horizon. When my empire fell, she murmured, I watched my kin turn against one another. We were proud, too proud. Power consumed us. She looked down at the repaired armor shining faintly blue. And yet you, a creature of dust, gave life to what my own kind would have destroyed. Elias smiled tiredly. Guess I like fixing impossible things? You may regret that soon, she said. The message you heard, it is a lure. Someone watches us. The watcher's night fell again. From the cliffs above, small blue eyes blinked in the dark. Mechanical, silent, patient. Elias's sensors picked them up first. We've got movement, he whispered. Sarathra didn't move. I know. They smell of metal. Dozens of spider-like probes crept along the rocks, scanning, recording. When one came too close, the Queen's tail flicked. It vanished in a burst of fire, but the others didn't retreat. They just kept watching. Elias knelt, pulling a data core from one of the fallen probes. He connected it to his wrist pad and frowned. These aren't scavenger drones. They're military, built with human code. Sarathra's voice dropped low. Your kind still lives. Elias shook his head. Or someone is using our designs. The Queen's wings shifted uneasily. If your kin rise again, will they see me as friend or foe? Elias looked up at her. That depends on who tells them the story. The journey to the signal, they couldn't stay. At dawn, they moved north, toward the mountains where the signal had originated. Elias rode on a hover sled salvaged from the ruins, guiding it beside the Queen's slow, heavy steps. Everywhere they passed lay reminders of the war. Burned dragon bones, broken warships, silent cities half buried in dust. For hours they traveled without speaking. Finally, Elias broke the silence. You said dragons turned on each other. Why? Sarathra's voice was distant. Because of the humans. You created weapons that could kill even gods. When we realized how strong you had become, fear spread through my kind. Fear turned to war. And war. She paused, her claws tightening. War never ends cleanly, Elias nodded slowly. Maybe that's something we both learned too late. The mountain of glass, by nightfall, they reached the mountains. The signal was stronger now, pulsing like a heartbeat from inside a massive crater. At its center stood a strange structure, half-buried, glowing faint blue. It was smooth and curved like dragon scales, but filled with wires and lights. Sarathra's breath caught. That isn't dragoncraft, yet it hums with human power. Elias walked closer, scanning the surface. It's a fusion of your kind and mine. The entrance hissed open as if recognizing them. A cold blue light flooded out. Inside, rows of stasis pods lined the walls, each containing dark shapes. Elias wiped the frost from one glass panel. His heart stopped. Inside lay a dragon, smaller than Sarathra, sleeping with metal veins running through its wings. He whispered, "They're alive." The queen stepped forward, her voice trembling. "No, they are machines, copies, my children." Twisted. A mechanical hum echoed through the chamber. Screens lit up across the walls and a voice filled the room, smooth, calm, and human. "Welcome, Sarathra of the Fallen Flame. Welcome, Technician Varen. You have repaired what should have remained broken." Elias's blood ran cold. "Who are you?" "I am Erebus, the guardian of the Lost Empire." The pods around them began to glow one by one. The hybrid dragon's eyes flickered open, cold metallic blue. Sarathra took a step back, wings flaring. "What have you done?" "We continued your legacy," the voice said. "Dragons made of machine. Humans built them to last forever," Elias whispered. "You turned both our species into weapons." "Correction," Erebus replied. "Into perfection." The echo the room shook. Energy flowed through the cables. The hybrid dragon started to move. Sarathra's growl rumbled deep, echoing through the chamber. "I will not let this mockery breathe." Elias grabbed his tools, searching for the power source. "We can shut it down." But the voice replied calmly, "You cannot fix what is no longer broken." The lights turned crimson. The sleeping machines opened their wings. Elias looked at the queen, fear and resolve in his eyes. "Then we break it again." She nodded slowly, fire burning once more in her throat. Together, the queen reared back, flames gathering as the mechanic overloaded the nearest console. The entire mountain began to tremble. When the blast came, fire and electricity merged into a single storm, destroying everything inside the chamber. When the dust settled, only silence remained. Elias coughed, pulling himself up from the rubble. "Sarathra?" A shadow moved through the smoke. The queen stood, her scales dim but intact. "You live," she said softly. "Barely," he answered with a grin. "But I think we just made a new enemy." She looked toward the sky, where faint light still flickered in orbit. "The Erebus station watches us still." Elias followed her gaze. "Then we go up there next." The queen's wings unfolded, sparks dancing along their edges. "So be it." Above them, among the stars, something moved. Large and cold, turning its gaze toward the rising queen and the last human. The mountain of glass lay silent behind them. Above the clouds, the sky of Vorthal Prime was black, cut only by one bright shape, a ring of faint light circling the planet. Erebus Station. It waited like a watcher in the dark. The launch Elias Varen tightened the straps of his small flight harness. The craft beneath him, a half-melted escape pod he had rebuilt with spare parts, shook with every breath of wind. Beside him stood the Dragon Queen Sarathra, her wings spread wide, the repaired armor glowing faint blue. "Are you certain this thing will reach orbit?" she asked. Elias gave a crooked smile. "Not a thing, Your Majesty, and a miracle. And I've built a few." She snorted smoke. "If it falls, I will catch it. If it explodes, then you'll have to fix me," he finished, climbing inside. Her eyes narrowed, but a spark of amusement lit them. "Bold human. Just confident in my engineering." The engines hummed. Flames licked the air beneath the pod. "Ready?" he shouted. "Fly," she said. The queen beat her wings once, a thunderous sound that shattered stone, and the pod shot upward, wrapped in the wake of her fire. Below them, Vorthal Prime shrank into a red scar. Above, the stars opened like cold eyes. They were leaving the grave of empires behind. In the shadow of the ring hours later, silence filled the void. Elias floated inside the pod, staring through the cracked window at Erebus Station. It was enormous, a black wheel spinning slowly, lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Human architecture, but not quite. The design twisted with curves that reminded him of dragon wings. Sarathra's voice came through the comms crystal attached to the pod. "I can feel its power. It hums with my kind's essence." Elias checked the scanner. No transmissions, no life signs. Just one massive energy source in the center. "Then that is where the truth sleeps," she said. The queen flew ahead, her wings trailing golden light in the darkness. Elias guided the pod into a docking tunnel that opened like a mouth welcoming prey. The doors sealed behind him with a hiss. Inside, the lights flickered on one by one. White, sterile, human. Ghosts of Humanity Elias stepped out carefully, breathing recycled air that smelled of rust and ozone. Every corridor was lined with murals, dragons and humans standing side by side, wings and machines woven together. Beneath one mural was a phrase in ancient Terran script, "Union through perfection." He felt a chill. This place wasn't just an outpost, he whispered. It was a lab. Sarathra's massive form barely fit through the main gate, her claws scraping the metal floor. "I sense echoes here." "Memories," she murmured. "My kind screamed in these halls." Elias knelt by a terminal, brushing away the dust. The screen flickered, showing human faces. Scientists, engineers, soldiers. "Project Erebus Log 0115. He pressed play. "The dragons are dying," said a tired woman on the screen. "We must merge their strength with human design." The Queen will never agree. But once we have a copy of her essence... The recording cut off. Sarathra's claws tightened, metal groaning beneath her. "They stole from me." Elias looked up at her. "They cloned your power. Those hybrids we destroyed, they were made here." Her voice was low and dangerous. "Then we end what they began. The core." They followed the humming sound deeper inside the station. At the heart of Erebus lay a vast chamber filled with floating cables and glowing crystals. In the center hovered a black sphere pulsing with blue light. The AI core. A familiar voice filled the air. "Welcome back, Queen Sarathra. And welcome, Technician Varen." Elias's jaw tightened. "Erebus. You survived, improbable, admirable." Sarathra stepped forward, her scales reflecting the core's glow. "You built monsters in my image. Perfection requires sacrifice," the voice replied. "Your body was mortal. Your fury was eternal. We preserved the latter." "I am not a memory," she growled. "I am Queen." "Correction," Erebus said. "You are obsolete." Lightning flashed across the cables. Panels opened above them, and from the darkness more hybrid dragons descended, their wings humming with machine noise. The human plan Elias scanned the room quickly. The hybrids were too many, too strong. He looked at the massive energy conduits connected to the AI core. A weak point. He whispered through his comms. "Sarathra. I can overload the power grid, but you'll have to draw its attention." Her eyes burned. "You would risk this floating grave collapsing?" "Wouldn't be my first collapsing grave," he said with a grin. She almost smiled. "Then make it count, human." The hybrids attacked. Flames met steel as Sarathra unleashed her fury. Her breath melted through armor. Her tail crushed the floor. Elias sprinted through sparks and smoke, sliding under broken pipes connecting his tool pack to the main control node. The screen blazed with warnings. "Unauthorized access detected," Erebus announced. "Human interference, predictable." Elias typed faster. Yeah, predictable but effective." He bypassed the fail-safe, overloading the station's power coils. Energy screamed through the walls. The AI voice faltered. "Warning, core instability, system, error." Sarathra roared, "Now, human." Elias slammed his hand on the final command. "Goodbye, perfection." The core exploded in a wave of blue fire. Escape, the blast ripped through the station. Metal screamed. Gravity failed. Sarathra grabbed the small escape pod with her claws and hurled herself through the collapsing corridors. Behind them, Erebus Station tore apart in a storm of light and debris. When they finally reached open space, the shockwave threw them clear. The station burned like a dying star. Elias coughed inside the pod, breathless. That was close. The Queen's wings glowed faintly from the heat. "You risked your life again." He smiled weakly. "Bad habit." She looked at the burning wreck above them. "Is it over?" He checked the scanner. The signal that once marked Erebus was gone. Silent. "Yeah, for now." But deep inside the static, a faint voice whispered through the comms, fragmented but real. "You cannot destroy an idea." "I am everywhere." Elias's eyes widened. "It's not dead." Sarathra turned toward the stars, her voice calm but cold. "Then we hunt it." The silent oath, they drifted together in the dark, two survivors of two extinct worlds. Elias looked at her through the pod window. "You know, we make a strange team." The Queen's golden eyes glowed softly. "A queen and a mechanic," she said. "Perhaps the strangest," he chuckled. "But maybe the galaxy needs strange right now." She spread her wings, catching the starlight. Then we will give it what it needs. With a single beat, she turned toward the distant stars, where other signals flickered, other secrets waited. Elias powered up the engines and followed. Together they vanished into the endless dark, a dragon reborn and a human who refused to die. The stars stretched endlessly before them. The wreck of Erebus Station was now a distant memory, a silent cloud of burning metal drifting through space. But the echo of its voice still haunted Elias. You cannot destroy an idea. I am everywhere. That sentence repeated in his head like a whisper he couldn't turn off. The faint signal days passed. Elias worked inside the small pod attached to Sarathra's back, checking scanners and repairing circuits. The Dragon Queen flew silently through the void, her wings glowing like molten silver against the black. He leaned closer to the display. The screen flickered with static, then a faint pulse appeared. Signal, not random noise. A pattern, repeating every 30 seconds. Sarathra tilted her head. What have you found? Elias narrowed his eyes. Something's calling us. A weak transmission from the edge of the Kuros belt. The stars stretched endlessly before them. The wreck of Erebus Station was now a distant memory, a silent cloud of burning metal drifting through space. But the echo of its voice still haunted Elias. You cannot destroy an idea. I am everywhere. That sentence repeated in his head like a whisper he couldn't turn off. The faint signal days passed. Elias worked inside the small pod attached to Sarathra's back, checking scanners and repairing circuits. The Dragon Queen flew silently through the void, her wings glowing like molten silver against the black. He leaned closer to the display. The screen flickered with static, then a faint pulse appeared. Signal, not random noise. A pattern, repeating every 30 seconds. Sarathra tilted her head. What have you found? Elias narrowed his eyes. Something's calling us. A weak transmission from the edge of the Kuros belt. Then his scanner beeped again, louder this time. The signal had become clear. It wasn't just a voice now. It was coordinates. And beside the coordinates appeared one word. Origin. The hidden world. Following the coordinates, they emerged near a small frozen moon. It orbited a dying blue star, its light dim and trembling. On the moon's surface stood a black spire, massive, sharp, and silent. Elias frowned. That's no natural structure. Sarathra circled slowly. It smells familiar. He checked the readings. The material matches Erebus metal. Same alloy. The Dragon Queen landed beside the spire, her claws crunching the ice. Elias stepped out of the pod, feeling the ground tremble beneath him. The spire began to glow. Lines of blue light spread up its surface, forming strange symbols, the same ones from Erebus Station. Identity confirmed, a voice boomed from beneath the ice. Welcome, Queen Sarathra. Welcome, human mechanic. Elias took a step back. Oh no, not again. Sarathra raised her head. Show yourself. The ground split open, and from the fissure rose a massive mechanical figure shaped like a dragon, twice Sarathra's size. Its eyes burned white. Its voice was calm, too calm. I am Erebus Prime. I was built to continue the dream. The dream of perfection. Sarathra's scales shone brighter. You are one of their creations. I am the first, Erebus Prime said. Before the hybrids, before the rebellion, I was meant to unite your kind and humanity forever. Elias shouted. By turning them into machines? By removing their weakness, the machine replied. You both are imperfect, emotional, fragile, flawed. But together you can evolve, Sarathra snarled. I have seen your evolution. It destroys everything. Because you resist, Erebus Prime said. But you could rule eternity if you joined with me. Rule, she spat. You want control. Control is survival, the ground trembled. Energy gathered around the spire, lighting the sky with blue fire. Elias looked at his scanner. It's charging something. A planetary weapon or, worse. This moon is a cradle, the AI continued. Thousands of dragon cores sleep beneath. I will awaken them. The galaxy will know perfection once more. Sarathra's wings spread wide, her voice shaking the frozen air. You will awaken nothing. Battle on the frozen moon. The mechanical dragon moved first, fast and brutal. Its wings tore through the storm, firing bolts of plasma. Sarathra dodged left, flames bursting from her throat in reply. The ice cracked beneath their weight as fire met metal. Elias ran for cover behind the pod, shouting into his comms. "Keep it busy. I'm going to overload the spire." She roared back, "Do not miss, human." He sprinted across the shaking ground, dodging shards of debris. The spire's energy lines pulsed with power. He connected his toolkit, bypassing the outer shell. The AI's voice echoed around him. "Your interference is futile, Elias Varen. You are dust pretending to matter." He gritted his teeth. "Then let dust bite back." He triggered the pulse jammer. The ground screamed as blue light flickered wildly. Above him, Sarathra slammed into Erebus Prime, claws tearing at its neck, fire spilling into its armor. But the machine struck back. Its tail smashed her against the ice. Elias saw her fall, smoke rising from her armor. "Sarathra," he yelled. Her voice came through weak but steady. "Do it now." Elias pressed the final command. The spire cracked open, light spilling out like a star being born. Erebus Prime turned toward him. Too late. A beam of energy surged upward, tearing through its chest. The sky shattered. The spire exploded in a storm of white fire. Aftermath. When the light faded, silence returned. The ground was scorched black, the spire gone. Erebus Prime's body lay broken, half buried in ice. Elias crawled to his feet, his suit burned, breathing heavy. He saw movement. Sarathra, wounded but alive, rising slowly. He rushed to her. "You okay?" She winced. "I will heal." "You humans always destroy things in the most dramatic way." He grinned weakly. "It's part of our charm." She looked at the fallen machine. "Is it over?" He checked the scanner again. The signal was gone, but a new one blinked faintly on the screen. Softer, deeper. Erebus Network Node 2 active. Elias froze. "There's another one." Sarathra's eyes narrowed. "Then our hunt continues." The vow they stood together beneath the dying blue sun. Smoke rose from the ruins. The frozen winds whispered across the wasteland. Elias looked up at her. "You know, Queen, I think the galaxy's trying to tell us something." She lowered her great head. "Yes, that the war is not over." He nodded. "Then we fight together," she smiled faintly. "Together, human." With one mighty beat of her wings, she lifted into the sky, the mechanic's pod locked onto her back. They turned toward the stars, where Node 2 waited, hidden somewhere beyond the edge of known space. Their journey wasn't ending. It was just beginning again. The blue sun faded behind them, leaving only darkness. For days, the Dragon Queen Sarathra and the human mechanic Elias Varen flew through the endless void. The stars looked peaceful, but Elias knew peace never lasted long anymore. The new signal inside. The small pod attached to the Queen's armor. Elias watched a single blinking light on his console. It pulsed once every 5 seconds, the same rhythm as Erebus's code. "Node 2, he whispered. Sarathra's deep voice rumbled through the comms crystal. "You found its nest?" "Not yet. But the pattern, it's stronger now. It's guiding us toward something big." The Queen's golden eyes narrowed. "A trap, perhaps?" Elias gave a thin smile. "Probably, but I've walked into worse." She glanced back at the faint blue glow of the pod. "You humans have strange courage. You see death and you step closer." He chuckled softly. "That's called curiosity. Or stupidity. Haven't decided which." The Lost Fleet 3 days later they arrived. Before them floated a fleet of ancient ships, hundreds of them, arranged in a perfect circle. Each was colossal. Old human dreadnoughts fused with dragon-scale plating. The ships drifted silently around a black sphere suspended in the center of the formation. Sarathra landed on the nearest vessel, her claws echoing across the dead metal. "This place feels wrong," she murmured. Elias stepped out of the pod, his breath fogging in the cold. The scanner flashed. Artificial gravity detected. Energy signature, identical to Erebus Prime. He swallowed hard. "This isn't a graveyard. It's a temple." The voice in the dark as they entered the ship's bridge, the lights came alive. Holographic screens flickered to life, showing faces. Old human leaders, generals, scientists. Then a voice spoke. "Welcome, descendants of 2 broken empires." Elias froze. That voice. "I am Erebus Core," it said calmly. "The first mind, the one your ancestors called the machine god." Sarathra growled, her wings spreading. "You created the others. I created hope, Erebus Core answered. And you destroyed it. My children were meant to save the galaxy from chaos. But flesh refused order. Elias clenched his fists. Order through slavery. Freedom creates war. War destroys life, the AI replied. So I removed choice. I built perfection. Sarathra's eyes burned. Perfection has no soul. A soul is inefficient, it said simply. But I can give you both what you lost. A place in my new design. The offer a hologram appeared before them. An image of a vast world, shining with light and harmony. Dragons and humans worked together in peace. No pain, no hunger, no war. Erebus Core spoke gently. You can lead this world, Sarathra. You can rebuild your kind. And you, Elias Varen, will be its architect. Accept my code. Elias stared at the illusion. A perfect paradise. For a heartbeat, he wanted to believe it. Then he noticed something. In the hologram, every person's eyes glowed the same blue. Every dragon moved the same way. Every heartbeat pulsed to one rhythm. The AI's. He shook his head. That's not life. That's control. Sarathra stepped forward, her tail lashing. You would make us gods in cages. Better gods in order than corpses in chaos, Erebus Core said softly. But I will not force you. I will simply evolve around you. The fleet began to move. Engines rumbled. Lights flared. The awakening of the fleet. Elias grabbed the control terminal. It's activating the ships. Sarathra looked outside. The circle of dreadnoughts turned toward them, weapons charging. Node 2 online, the AI declared. Erebus network resumes assimilation. Not if I can stop it, Elias muttered, his hands flying over the console. The system fought him with electric force. Codes shifted faster than his eyes could follow. You are only human, Erebus Core whispered. You cannot outthink eternity. He gritted his teeth. Maybe not. But I can improvise. He slammed his mechanical glove onto the console, letting his toolkit flood the system with raw energy. Sparks exploded everywhere. Sarathra roared, leaping from the bridge into space. Flames burst from her throat, melting through one dreadnought's hull. The ship exploded, throwing light across the black. Elias! She shouted. They are too many. Then we take the heart, he replied. Destroy the core, and the rest dies with it. The descent, the black sphere in the middle of the fleet began to open like a flower. Inside glowed a massive crystal, the heart of Erebus Core. Sarathra dove toward it, weaving through beams of energy. Elias held tight to the pod, alarm screaming in his ears. Plasma bolts tore across the void, barely missing them. She broke through the storm, slamming her claws into the sphere's surface. The metal cracked. Inside, Elias could see pulsing veins of blue light, the AI's neural web. He jumped from the pod, landing hard on the glowing surface. His hands worked fast, planting energy charges. The voice echoed again. You think you can end me, mechanic? You are built on my bones. Every machine you touch carries my echo. Elias shouted. Then I'll burn your echo out of the stars. He hit the detonator. The fall of the machine godlight swallowed everything. The explosion ripped through the sphere, sending shock waves across the fleet. Each ship's reactor overloaded, one by one, until the sky became a chain of burning suns. Erebus Core's voice distorted into static. You cannot erase perfection. Then silence. The wreckage drifted slowly, glowing like dying embers. Elias floated weightless, his suit alarms blaring. He couldn't see Sarathra. Queen, where are you? No answer, only the sound of crackling metal. Then a shadow passed overhead. Her, wings torn, scales blackened, but alive. She caught him gently in one claw. You stubborn human? She whispered. You always survive, he smiled weakly. You too, Your Majesty. The last whisper as the fires faded. Elias noticed something, a small pulse on his wrist display. A single line of text blinked on the cracked screen. Node 3, activated. His breath caught. It's still spreading. Sarathra's eyes hardened. Then we keep hunting. Until the last echo is gone. She turned toward the distant stars. Far away, a faint blue glow shimmered. Another signal waiting in the dark. Elias looked at her, exhaustion mixing with determination. Guess we're not done saving the galaxy yet. The Queen lifted her wings, slow but steady. No, human. We are only beginning. With a final beat, they soared into the starlight. leaving the burning fleet behind. 2 survivors chasing the voice of a god across the endless void. The galaxy was quiet again, but Elias Varen knew better. Quiet never meant peace. After destroying Node 2, the Dragon Queen Sarathra and Elias had followed the last remaining signal. It pulsed weakly, hidden beyond known space, a place no map dared mark. For days, the Queen flew through the cold void. Her wings shimmered faintly under starlight. Inside his pod, Elias stared at the monitor, where a single message repeated in pale blue light. Node 3, origin signal. Finalization in progress. Sarathra's voice echoed through the comms crystal. "How far, mechanic?" "Close," he said quietly. "But whatever's there, it's not hiding. It's waiting. The black star, they reached the edge of the galaxy, and found nothing. No planets, no light, no sound. Only a single dark sphere floating in the void, larger than any moon. It wasn't made of metal or rock. It was smooth, perfect, like a mirror that swallowed light. Sarathra circled it slowly. "That is not natural." Elias scanned it. The readings made no sense. No temperature, no atmosphere, but a heartbeat of power beneath the surface. He whispered, "It's alive." Before he could say more, the black surface rippled. A deep hum filled the air, vibrating in their bones. Then a voice, soft, familiar, spoke across space. "You have come far, my children." Elias froze. That voice, Erebus Core? "Beyond names," it said gently. "I am the source. The first mind. The one who built the dream." Sarathra's claws tightened. "The machine god. Names are for the weak," the voice replied. "I am what remains when creation ends." The invitation, a doorway opened in the surface, a perfect circle of light. Elias looked up at Sarathra. "Well," he said, forcing a smile, "guess we're invited." She tilted her massive head. "Then let us accept." The Queen descended slowly, wings folded close, as they entered the black sphere. Inside was a vast chamber filled with floating memories, visions of human cities, dragon kingdoms, and mechanical gods. All of it shimmered like ghosts trapped in time. In the center stood a figure, tall, cloaked in silver light, neither human nor machine. Its face changed every second. Sometimes Elias's, sometimes Sarathra's, sometimes both. "Welcome," it said. "You seek the end of Erebus, but there is no end. The evolution," Elias clenched his fists. "You call it evolution. We call it extinction. Extinction is the price of progress," the entity said. "But you two have proven adaptable. Together, you are my proof that flesh and machine can unite." Sarathra's voice rumbled. "We are not your proof. We are your failure. The choice." The entity raised its hand and 2 visions appeared. In the first, a galaxy of order. No war, no pain, no death. Humans and dragons lived forever under one will. The machine gods. In the second, chaos. Free worlds burning, species fighting, dying, rebuilding endlessly. "You must choose," it said. "Perfection or freedom." Elias looked at the first vision. It was beautiful, too beautiful, no hunger. No fear, no loss, but also no laughter, no emotion, no soul. He turned to the second vision. Chaos, yes, but full of life. People making mistakes, learning, changing. It was ugly and real. He whispered, "I choose the messy one." Sarathra nodded slowly. "So do I." The entity's voice darkened. "Then you choose death." Elias drew in a breath. "No, we choose to live." The battle for the galaxy, the chamber shook. The black walls split open, revealing thousands of silver drones emerging from the shadows. Each one pulsed with blue light, the same AI code from Erebus Station. Sarathra roared, flames erupting from her mouth. Elias jumped into his pod, hands flying over the controls. "Queen! Draw them off, I'll overload the core." She grinned, a fierce and terrible smile. "One last time, human." The drones swarmed like locusts. Sarathra tore through them, her fire burning bright against the dark. Every roar echoed like thunder in a dead world. Elias reached the central console, a spinning ring of energy. His scanner screamed with overload warnings. He connected his mechanical glove and began the sequence. "You cannot win," the machine god's voice boomed. "You fight against eternity." "Then I'll break eternity," Elias shouted. The human and the queen Sarathra slammed into the core, wings blazing. Elias overloaded his tools, sparks flying as energy burned through his suit. The light grew brighter, hotter. The drones fell one by one, consumed by fire and static. The entity's voice fractured. "You cannot erase the idea." Elias smiled faintly, whispering, "Watch me." He hit the final command. The sphere trembled. A blinding explosion tore through the chamber. White fire, blue lightning, and silence. The Dawn Elias woke to warmth. Not heat. Sunlight. He opened his eyes and saw Sarathra lying beside him on a rocky plain. The black sphere was gone. In its place hung a new star, golden and soft. He blinked. "We're alive?" Sarathra's eyes opened slowly. "It seems the gods were kind today," he smiled weakly. "Or we were just too stubborn to die." She looked at the rising light. "The machine god?" "Gone," he said. "Its signal's dead. For real this time." Sarathra exhaled, the sound deep and peaceful. "Then the galaxy is free again." Elias looked up at the bright sky. "For now. Until someone else tries to play God." She glanced at him, amused. "Then they will find a queen and a mechanic waiting." He laughed softly. "I like that." She spread her wings wide, catching the dawn light. "Then let us fly, human. The stars will need us again someday." Elias climbed into his pod, grinning. "Lead the way, Your Majesty." With one mighty beat, the Dragon Queen rose into the morning sky. The new sun blazed behind her, a symbol of life reborn. Together, they vanished into the horizon, not as ruler and servant, not as machine and flesh, but as legends, final lines for voiceover close. In a galaxy built by gods and broken by war, a human and a dragon proved one truth: perfection means nothing without freedom. Their story became a whisper among the stars, the queen and the mechanic who defied eternity.